Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Stream Scene, episode 11. We have an awesome episode for you guys today. I'm joined by my co-host, the Hunter Wild. How you doing today, Hunter?
I'm doing pretty dang well. I'm coffeeed up and I'm amped about the conversation that we're going to have today on the show. And I know a lot of people have been waiting for this particular subject to get some more information revealed. And speaking of that, we are joined over here by the I don't know where I'm pointing now. We're joined
No,
by
you had it.
did I really
No,
by
other
the
way.
incredible and amazing and truly in my opinion brilliant Clara. Clara, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, first of all, we talked about this before, but never call me intelligent in any way because that's too much pressure.
That's fair.
But yeah, I'm Clara Sia, IRL, and more known, I guess, online as SeriouslyClara. I play indie games on Twitch as a casual, and I highlight things like positivity and acceptance and inclusivity and safety on my channel, but it's mostly about the indie games. In real life, I work as an influencer relations person for Sandbox Strategies, a PR firm for gaming PR firm in New York. And what I do is I help our clients, typically developers and publishers, get their games into the right influencers' hands, streamers, YouTubers, etc., so that they can play the game and get more coverage for our clients. So I work pretty much my whole life is Twitch.
Twitch and helping people, right?
And helping people.
Yeah, and that's exactly what you're going to be doing here today as we talk about the Twitch Terms of Service Community Guidelines.
I hope so.
Right, Loco?
Yeah. So let's talk about a little bit about what these guideline changes are and why we're talking about it today. So, last month, Twitch made an announcement basically saying, like, we're making some updates to the community guidelines. They highlighted them, and it caused a huge stir because it was basically the first time in a long time that they were finally addressing some of these lingering issues on the platform, with high toxicity, people like partners attacking other partners, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So basically what these guidelines, the highlight of these changes include, as I'm looking through this, just to make sure I don't miss anything, new policies towards anti-harassment and hateful conduct. So basically, like, if those hate type raids or talking badly about other broadcasters, stuff like that, that's gonna result in an indefinite suspension. They address sexual content. So they didn't make anything specific towards what people would like, what you could wear and what you couldn't wear, because that's really going to be different. But they address emotes, camera angles, basically the content of your stream, if it's being, oriented towards a sexual nature, that was no longer allowed. So that was kind of like the other big thing. So the community guidelines, the changes went into effect March 5th, so it's been exactly 1 week since these changes have been made. So we're going to discuss basically, its impact, if it has had an impact, if the guidelines have gone too far or not far enough, and what we think about these guidelines as a whole, as, other platforms also make changes like this as well. So we'll start off basically going into, what do you guys think prompted these changes on Twitch?
Honestly, I think the spark was from all the press about clarity and transparency, or lack thereof, about Twitch. I myself tweeted about Mixer's very much clearer rules, and
that was where I first saw it. It was you tweeting about
an article that Polygon wrote about Mixer, why it's seen as more positive than on Twitch. And I'm inclined to believe that people who have tweeted things like that have made an impact, because after those tweets that I made, I was contacted by my partner rep to be involved in conversations around Twitch's community guidelines. And this was before Twitch made any of the announcements about the guideline changes. So I really think that just us putting the spotlight on things and public press picking up on this idea about how, like, this platform is seen as more positive as that platform, or why are people seen as more toxic on this one than that one. I think just the PR behind it is really what prompted these changes. I don't know what you think, Hunter.
The I definitely can't speak to that internal dynamic in the internal direction, but from the outside, seeing it unfurl, that is exactly what I saw. The first time that I noticed anything moving in that direction was your tweet about Mixer's rules and the conversation that flowed forth for like a week and a half after that. And kudos to you for continuously engaging people with a very level head. That's a major style. A lot of people could learn that from you. I'm trying to take some notes. That was where it started for me. That's when I started paying attention to it, and it was shortly thereafter that I saw Twitch start to note that, or Twitch mentioned that, I think, on their in one of their own tweets about what they were going to be doing soon thereafter.
Yeah, it was actually really cool. Like, if I was really ecstatic originally about how, it felt like they're actually listening, albeit through Twitter and not through the conventional ways of providing feedback. But it really seemed like they're working on these rules updates. And I'm sure they were working on it like well before my tweets or anybody else's tweets, but reaching out to me, and I'm sure other people, really just felt like they did care. Even if it was maybe just for damage control, but that's maybe giving myself too much credit. But I think that it was a good step.
Yeah, I mean, they clearly did, see you being outspoken about it, because not only did the Twitch account respond to you, like they retweeted your tweet with a comment towards those guidelines, but I mean, they also involved you in the process. So, that's how I've actually, I link these changes to you, Clara, because of your tweet about the Mixer guidelines. I mean, that tweet blew up, and everyone around on Twitch was like, these seem like pretty good things. Like, why can't we have this too? Like, I feel like Twitch was at a like an intersection or a fork in the road, where it was like, okay, they can continue down the path they are and ignore, all the hateful, negative cesspool that occurs on Twitch and just keep making money and just keep focusing on business, or they can, address this and actually like decide that, for the community as a whole, like they need to make some changes, like they need to put their foot down. And I mean, it's to be seen, if they will actually act on these, which is probably something that we'll discuss here soon. If they actually, are they going to ban big streamers for this kind of stuff?
Right.
Like,
is that a direct question?
I mean, yeah, we could talk about it now. Like, like, have you guys seen any impact on it?
I have probed. I've definitely probed, not just on Twitter. I've probed people who have had conversations about it. I've even asked, I don't want to name any names, but I've even asked a couple of the streamers that have been put under the hot light. Is that the right word? But
say word.
Just asked, like, do you have any fear? And in fact, I have gotten back responses. No, there's no fear. So that's very alarming to me, that not only are people just outwardly and very vocally mocking the new guidelines and saying basically that they're immune to it. I've actually gotten a couple of responses from people saying, nah, I'm good. It's fine. So, like, without naming names, that really sets me up to not some of the more positive expectations.
People would be affected by it, presumably, right? That's what you're saying. Because I would say, I'm not worried about it, but that's because I don't feel like I am breaking any of the things. You're talking about people who may, in fact, be subject to some of these things, who don't feel like they have anything to worry about.
Yeah, exactly. And so I also asked about whether or not, do you think maybe this is Twitch's just being overloaded with reports right away? And that's something that I expected. Like, we're not going to see change overnight. We're not going to see change over a week, not even after a month, not significant change anyways. But I was very much hoping to see some positive stories. Like, how there's all these negative stories right now, and they're at the forefront of like, Twitch isn't doing anything and these people are still getting away with this and that. You would think that there's also some like very prominent good wins out of it, and I haven't gotten a single one yet. Not to say that I have the biggest reach and network in the world, but it's not anything that's just out there. Usually you hear about things like that. Haven't really seen anything.
Is that like a visibility issue? Because I mean, we all know that the negative sticks in your head more often, and it's often a thing that comes to the fore first. So I would imagine that even if there were some wins coming out of it. It might not, and by its nature, this might also be true, that it might not be the thing that's the most visible, whereas the big blow-ups about some negative aspect, some negative quality, would be the most visible ones, the ones that we see the most often, the ones that are retweeted and commented on the most often, I expect.
Yeah. I mean,
I definitely see where you're coming from. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, if you're talking in terms of like finding out like who's getting banned or something, like, I mean, are they gonna publish like today these people have been banned? Like, I mean,
no.
it's kind of like it's like when you find that kind of stuff out, like that's the thing about these changes is that we'll only know really if it's working if it's like impacting people that we know, right? If it makes waves, if there's like outcry or anything, we don't know like what kind of effect this has on the millions of smaller broadcasters that fly under the radar for most of us, but like there's some horrible things that happen in smaller channels that like if you dive into the corners of Twitch. So as a whole, like hopefully like that kind of stuff gets cleaned up and into a noticeable effect. But I mean, it's only been a week still, so.
And that's definitely where I was aiming at as well before. It's not just like all the big negative things. I very, very clearly said, I want to know the wins that we're getting. And like you said, things are probably happening. They're happening on a smaller level. They're happening on a slower level, but perception really matters in this case. Right. And I expected to get anything back. But what I'm hearing is the rules are actually increasing toxicity in that people are doing the fake positivity in streams, and they're they're doing more of the shaming of like the actual things that are happening that are visible, not what's going on behind the moderation team or the admin team or anything like that, because we can't really comment on them. And I really don't think it's fair to, from what I hear, they're the last people to hear about changes and the first people that are to blame to be blamed about things not actually happening. So absolutely no ownership I'm placing any of this on the moderation team. But just what we're actually seeing it is a little disheartening. And I've also gotten quite a few people who have DM'd me. I left my DMs open for a little while about the changes that have happened in their channels, and most of them were smaller channels. There are people who are just coming in to do the whole like ToS with the happy face and whatever, like smile, positivity and things like that. And who knows how long it'll take for that to die down, but that's what's happening right now. So those are the changes that are happening right now. And
I specifically wanted to talk about that time situation. When do you expect, like, what do you see the seeds being planted now? Are we going to be waiting for like 4-ish months, like half a year, while there's all of that fake surface, like kind of gut reaction and here's my comical response kind of thing, and a lot of attention toward the negative side of it? Do you expect that to last for a few months, or is that just going to be indefinite? And on the far side of that, are you expecting to see it actually calm down, where people just kind of forget and now it's like normal? It's just normalcy. You have normalized these new guidelines into behavior and community attitudes and broadcaster attitudes, and it's just standard. So
I have to have faith. This is more of a faith question for me, because who knows what actually goes on back there? Are they just slowly trickling down the standards of how to moderate this? Like, is there a bottleneck that's happening right now, or is it still kind of back in the whole favoritism, sort of very inconsistent way of dealing out actions and things like that? I choose to err on the side of faith, and that this is just the initial reaction. It just, if people are told they can't do something, they're just going to do it anyways for a while and test the waters, test the boundaries. And I think also it has the time for when this will change will be directly impacted by when Twitch actually takes some noticeable action. Because of course we all know the big stories right now, the not so positive stories. What's going to happen out of those? We're not going to know the reasons behind why people are banned or suspended or why they aren't. But like I said, perception is everything. If something is very clearly violating some rules that smaller channels would have been banned for, if that's not clearly and fairly acted on every single channel, that's going to dictate how long this sort of behavior is going to happen, how seriously people are going to take Twitch and its commitment to equality and fairness.
I mean, it's going to take a big streamer getting punished for something that was like cause an outcry or something. Like, it's going to be one of the streamers that consistently toe the line and, you know, probably cross the line and then get like reprimanded or not for it. Like, that's going to be the turning point, in my opinion. And that's when people will look at it and say either, oh, like they have new rules, but if that guy can get away with it, then so can I. Or it's going to be like, oh my God, like they're actually enforcing the rules and you should probably start listening to them.
But also from that, like right now, I feel like the people who are kind of the extremists of like, oh, Twitch is going to go down, it's all SJW run now and all these snowflakes, those people are already acting like Twitch is following up on all these rules. Like, it's so backwards. They're already pre-afraid when nothing's really happened yet. They're like, oh my God, Twitch is going down the drain. All my favorite casters are gonna go away. This is the end of Twitch. And you know, they're the ones memeing and doing all the things. Nothing's actually happened. It's almost like, what are they?
I mean,
so
that's a good thing.
About?
I mean, I'd rather those people be afraid than not afraid, I guess.
Sure.
Like,
just like reactionary to a mirage. It's like, because we haven't really seen the fallout or the benefit, really like any of the things.
And also, like, if Twitch does actually follow up, and there's been a very specific case recently where you would think a smaller streamer would be banned for, and I think has been banned for in the past, if I'm recalling certain situations correctly, and he or she has not been banned for it, or even, like, who knows? Maybe there was a warning. We have no idea. But like, perception. And if that person does get action taken, we're going to see a lot more of those, like, oh, the SJWs have won again, sort of thing. Like, you almost can't win on Twitch's side. So I do feel for them in that way. You're going to get some sort of backlash. But Twitch has made a lot of changes, good and bad, over time, and they've always bounced back. I really do firmly believe that this is a good step towards something more positive, and a step that was much, much needed, especially with all this pressure coming from not just social media, but press covering it as well, and other platforms that are growing exponentially and potentially becoming true rivals in the next couple of years. So I have to have faith. If I don't have faith, why am I fighting? Why am I being vocal? You know?
Yeah. I mean, whether or not, like, you know, Twitch was inspired by Mixer's rules, and you pointing that out. I mean, you're right. Like, there is competition, and for a while, like, Twitch is definitely the front runner, and you know, laughing their way to the bank. But you know, Microsoft is not like is not going to just back down and be like, all right, we'll just chill here. Like, they're making a lot of moves, and
Microsoft is not a little startup. Yeah.
Small indie company.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's very interesting to see, like, with competition, you know, what puts a fire under Twitch's belt, because I mean, all of us here want Twitch to be, you know, the best platform. We all stream on it, and you know, it's something that we are all loyal to and we can call our home. Like, we want it to, it's like we just care, you know. That's why we are very vocal about these things, because, you know, it's our livelihood and it's, you know, our place of happiness. So we want to see it you know, be the best that it can be.
Yeah, absolutely.
And people I have gotten feedback from internal saying, you know, like, why I'm being really vocal. Am I just going to leave? Like, why am I causing waves? You know what? Because I care. I give a damn. If I didn't give a damn, I would just leave and shut up about it. It's kind of the same thing in relationships for me.
I was just going to say,
argue, I give a shit. Like, I care.
Yeah.
Once I go quiet, that's just like, I've given up. What is the point anymore? Right.
If I'm ignoring you, we're not going anywhere.
Exactly. Right. And the reason that I'm invested in any way in Mixer's development, in these other startups that are coming up, Caffeine is, you know, trying to do something here, and Facebook and YouTube and a couple others that I don't want to name right now, is because I do want Twitch to have healthy competition. I want them to be scared a little bit. I want them to have that fire that makes them innovate more and stop putting out these very tone deaf updates, like 5 million bit badges, and lately these emails that say, hey, I know you've unsubbed from this streamer, do you know that you can you know, like, things that we aren't consulted on first. They all seem very businessy, very corporate-y, very, how can I make more money? So that's why we fight, is we want to make sure that we are heard and that we're confident in the place that we chose to call home, and to see it develop and grow like it used to in such a meaningful way.
And so I think some of that, as you were saying, the tone deaf hosts and adjustments, modifications that are showing up. A lot of people have simply asked, "Are you even listening to us?" Like, yeah, we had a couple people who were like, "Hey, we'd like this." We have a ton of people going like, "Hey, we need this," and it's and we've been talking about it for years, and some of those things for years have shown up, name changes, things like that. But a lot of them still seem to, as much as in our imaginations, we think they'd be simple implementations, we're not seeing any response about them whatsoever. So in terms of the feedback and like listening to us, one of the things that I saw show up out of this conversation that you prompted on Twitter was a matter of specificity in the new guidelines, right? Are some of these or all of these, is the overall approach too vague, or are some of these appropriately specific and appropriately vague so as to give a little bit of leeway and room, a little bit of subjective case by case situations? What's your take on that?
Well, I mean, the proof is in the pudding. There's leeway. It's subjective, definitely subjective right now. I actually don't have too much of a problem with their anti-hate and harassment section. I think they did a really good job on that. There is fire there. People are, that's the main thing that's got everyone scared, is like, oh my God, I need to like watch out for my own audience now and their behavior. I need to actually take ownership of the toxicity that my stream is creating out there.
I love that.
I can't harass people off of Twitch anymore. Like that's all great, I think. And a lot of people are like, what? They're going to monitor? No, Twitch is not going to monitor actively. They're not going to actively police everything you do outside of Twitch. It just means
the Twitch NSA.
Yeah, they're not going to be watching they have better things to do than watch your tweets. But it just means that they are also subject to, you can still report people off of that. It's still good evidence, and you have to be responsible. If you're going to be a member of Twitch, you do have to act responsibly and not have any harassment. Follow people from outside of Twitch to Twitch. So I think the anti-harassment and the anti-hate rules are quite good. It's the sexual content that's definitely more vague. It's sparked a lot of conversation, and I am all for body positivity. I'm all for wearing whatever the hell you want. But on the flip side, Twitch really needs to be consistent. Like if they want to allow something, allow it. If they don't want to, consistently don't allow it then. It's just not there yet. And I don't know 100% if it's due to the clarity of the rules or lack thereof, or if it's because of the varying degrees of actions being taken. I don't really know where it falls. I do think that the rules are still vague. What you wear to a mall, like what does that actually mean? But I was kind of assured we had a little call afterwards, and a whole bunch of partners were on it, and they assured us by saying it's all about context. If you're at a beach, you can wear a swimsuit. If you're doing a workout stream, you can do squats and things like that. But it still doesn't seem like that's happening, or it's vague. Like I don't know which side it is. I think it's vague.
As a follow-up, how would you make the rules more or less vague? Like, because I feel like a lot of that is because it's like it has to be interpreted. Like, I guess because like, the situations that they gave, it's like some people could wear a tank top and it'll look like their boobs are about to come out, whereas other people could wear a tank top and like doesn't look sexual at all. I mean, like, so how do you like make those rules like less of a gray area?
I honestly have only one real suggestion. Originally, I was like, well, Mixer does this thing and it seems pretty clear. Like they drew these little bodies, these little, and then they like cut off like sections that you can't show, sort of thing. Like they blurped out like you can't show this, you can't show this part of. Some of them are very obvious, but originally I thought, okay, maybe that's the way to go, because if it works for another platform, it could work for us, and it's being reviewed very well. But I think Mixer and Twitch are actually very different in community types, and it eventually occurred to me that it won't work for Twitch that way. Context is extremely important. We do need to put faith in the moderation team to barely like moderate that, but the only thing I can suggest is to have 18 plus content be 18 plus content.
Absolutely.
It's too much to write down in a big list, and like what one person sees as sexual might not be for another person. One person's body type even can be seen as sexual, whereas another one isn't. Like,
yeah,
as
absolutely.
You were saying, like the whole boobs thing, like someone who isn't as busty wearing the same thing as someone who is busty, some people will view that as more sexual than the other.
Right.
It's too difficult. But if you were to say like this is an 18 plus stream, I think that could actually work, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say it's a slight shift in direction. One of the reasons that I'm a huge fan of the vagueness is the more specific you are, and I think we all know this because we've all been children and some of us still maintain that, the more specific you are, the more likely with rules, the more likely somebody is to go, how can I slightly skirt around that? What can I do that barely dodges that and allows me to go, hey, I didn't do you said, right? That's what we usually hear is, no, you said this, this, and this, and I did this. That's clearly outside the thing. The more vague it is, the more you allow that interpretation on the side of moderation. I feel like in some ways, and I think there's no perfect system, but in some ways, I feel like that gives you a better opportunity to actually govern the site in a way that's going to be more beneficial overall in the long term, as opposed to, as you said, a big old list of rules of like, you can't do this, you can't do this, make sure you memorize that and don't do any of those things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look up there for a second. Yes.
I hit a brick wall.
I think that, what you guys said about the 18 and up thing, like that's definitely something that should be enforced, and like that can actually have room to be strengthened as well. I don't know if how many channels actually mark themselves as mature and have mature content, and it's kind of a very confusing thing because like my channel is definitely not 18 and up, but sometimes I'll play a game that is definitely 18 and up, but it's like, so am I just mature? Like, do I mark the stream as mature? Because my content's not mature, but the video game might be. So it's like, do I mark it like that? Is there actual enforcement? Like, how do you know? Like, a stream should have a tag, I think, when you're in the channel that it's 18 up as well. Because let's say a kid that is on their parents' account, they have no way of seeing that content's 18 up because their account's registered as 18 up. So they just really have access to anything. Like having something visible, like maybe like underneath where it has all your channel information, like what game you're playing, what team you're on, and then there's like a red tag that says like 18 and up. I think that's something that
constantly
should be helpful.
Visible.
Yeah,
you're stealing ideas from Mixer because that's
am I?
You do, yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
well, that's a good idea.
Sharp like that, man.
That's a good idea.
Huh?
No, I totally agree. I just we have IRL came in and just fucked everything up.
It really did,
in a good and bad way. I'm not saying get rid of IRL by any means, but it came in fast and furious, and I don't think anyone at Twitch was really prepared. I don't know if they did it because they just like, we just want to do it, let's see what happens, sort of thing, and they kind of expected that things were just gonna get shaken up like crazy or what. But IRL really, really, I think, was a huge cause for why these changes needed to be made. I don't know how to fix any of those problems.
IRL is definitely a very interesting category. It definitely was cultivated by a lot of negative channels that created a subculture within Twitch of IRL equals trash, basically. I mean, I stream sometimes under IRL when I'm just talking in the beginning of my stream. We're just hanging out, not playing games in a second. And you can tell when I'm streaming under IRL because it doesn't take long for, someone to come in to say something stupid. And,
how long?
10 seconds. But you know, there was the banning of Ice Poseidon, that was definitely like a huge controversy with the IRL section, because he was the IRL section for a long time, and you know, that was a hugely toxic community. You know, the rule changes will definitely affect those channels the hardest, and I don't know if it's enough to change IRL. I feel like they need like more channels, like sub channels or something within IRL or something. You know, like travel,
I mean, they have social
and
eating.
Right.
Yeah.
So more sub channels, but also got to keep in mind that these changes right now, the anti-hate and harassment and the sexual content, those are just, from what Twitch is saying, the first of many to come in the community guidelines. So we've yet to see what they have in plan that will hopefully very much impact how IRL is managed. So
it does say right at the top that it's intended to be a living document. This is not fixed. This is not like etched in stone, and here we're handing you the tablets and now go forth into the world for the next 5,000 years and follow these guidelines. These may change again later on this year as they, I don't know when the changes are likely to happen, but as they are confronted by some of the things that people continue to do, or changes and shifts that happen, or desires if they listen to the community heavily, as they have in some of these situations.
I really hope that they keep it a living document. One of the things that made other platforms a little more looked up to is the fact that they do have their ear to the ground. They have very specific rules surrounding what's current, what's happening right now. Things like you can't call a female streamer a cam girl, just like right off the gate. You know, like it doesn't mean you can't use that word in general. It's still topics, right? But things like that shows that they are listening, that they are current, and they're not just keeping this outdated document for years and not looking at it anymore. It also shows that the moderation team is kept up to date. You know, like they have very specific, these are things that are happening right now that we can nip in the bud right now. So I hope that Twitch does keep this a living document and update it frequently, because it'll show that they are in fact listening, that they care. Since in general, big business, they don't really look at moderation as a huge part of the business plan. It's not what makes them money. So this would show that they are prioritizing it more than they have been before. It's so important. They're just setting themselves up for such bad PR currently if they don't do something like this.
Yeah.
So do you guys what do you guys think the community guidelines could add or strengthen if you could revise them? Like, do you think they're okay as it is and you want to see how it affects channels, or do you think that they could be stricter?
So from what I hear, the guidelines aren't actually a major shift in what their internal processes are. Their internal processes are very clearly defined, but these guidelines are really just more public facing and saying like, these are now the things, or these are the things that we can justifiably ban you for or suspend you for or what have you. And they're more that than they are, these are now things that we can ban you for. It's more accountability, and it's now just clarifying the actions that they're taking and why. Because it was always vague before. If someone gets banned, they don't really get too much information. I think just a statement of the rule that they're breaking. But hopefully that changes down the line. They get a little more information about that, because they do have much clearer guidelines internally. So I really don't know if there's too much that I would change about it currently. It's just a matter of enforcing it fairly.
I'm definitely in the neutral camp of see what happens. It's working, sometimes pretty well in a lot of cases. Before we had the guidelines, now we have these guidelines that are for us, right? As Clara, as you're just saying, it's more for us than it is for moderation to change their behavior. It's more for us to look at something and go like, oh, I should make sure that I'm not doing this. I wasn't too sure about that before. It seemed a little more open, but now there it is. It's right there. I'm definitely more in the wait and see category. And again, with it being an open living document, I don't know why I said open, with it being a living document subject to change and modification as they see need and as they see fit, it affords them the opportunity to adjust dynamically to a situation. Twitch is constantly reshaping itself and continuing to grow, and with internet culture in general, it's unpredictable 10 years down the road. So keeping that open, what's it going to be like in 6 months? What's it going to be like in 8 months, 2 years? Allowing them to make those adjustments, I think that's really important. And I'm totally on the let's see what happens and let's see what adjustments they make.
But I'm also, I think let's see what happens is definitely like where we're at right now.
Yeah.
And I think that's unfortunate because
That might be true.
I want us to have a voice. What is our voice right now? They have user voice forums for feedback. It's just a vacuum right now.
Mm-hmm.
Do they actually do anything with that? There's like no updates as far as I can tell, like, other than things that they've already planned on doing. So I've used the forums. I have tried upvoting things. I have asked other people to upvote things. I currently have one that's like way at the top. Do they address it? No. I know partners who aren't even getting feedback and responses and answers from their partner reps. There's nothing that they can share publicly because of PR, understandably.
Yeah.
So what do we have left to do to have impact on their decisions so that it's not just tone deaf, or it's not just things that are without our input? We just have to be vocal. Is that where we're at right now? We just have to use our own social media, stir some shit up. Like, it's hard to do this anyways because we don't really want to make this platform that we love look bad, but we also don't want it to be bad. And no one really feels heard except for the people who have, kind of internal friends. But that's again playing into favoritism. So we need some sort of communication, even if it's just with partners. I know it's bad to say that right now, but like, if partners even aren't getting answers from their reps, then where are we at? Like, all we can do is wait and see, like, there should be a conversation.
Right.
Interestingly enough, I know that there are a lot of people who are listening to this right now, and as soon as I say it, they're going to go like, oh, no, 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 no. It almost sounds like we could benefit collectively, Twitch and broadcasters, from having some kind of unionized organization facing down a large group of broadcasters who have a generally coherent and cohesive set of ideas that they want to bring to Twitch. Instead, right now it's a bunch of individual people, and we're all like, screaming into the void, and there's not an immediately beneficial relationship between individual broadcasters, as you pointed out repeatedly in your last comments, between broadcasters and Twitch formal. Instead, having some kind of a collective voice that's incidentally happening through these big blowups on Twitter, where everybody's getting on board, and then you see Twitch address it later. That's the informal version of the kind of thing that occurred to me as you were speaking. Kind of interesting. Future directions. Curious.
Yeah, you wanna take the lead on that?
Let's get those papers going around. Get those.
Right, I don't know any streamer that has the extra free time to put together something like that.
Free time's a problem.
But I do agree that it feels like Twitch grew a lot faster than like they grew internally, and we started to get partner reps, but not everyone has a partner rep. I think that the partner reps have too many partners because I feel like a lot of partners feel like they're not getting enough communication with their representative. I think like maybe some type of maybe not a union, but maybe something that's more inclusive with Twitch, like a focus group or focus groups. And they've started to do some of that where they'll have like different departments reach out to the partner reps, and they'll find suitable streamers and do like feedback sessions and stuff. But yeah, I mean, clearly like there's definitely room for them to improve the communication between streamers or the community itself and Twitch itself.
But what you were saying is like they do include us on those feedback circles and things like that. Those are ideas that they come up with.
Right.
They're not things that like the conversation is flowing outwards to us. There's no conversation from us going in. And then, like it takes a big stink, huge stink like the whole sub streaks being dropped thing. Like lots of people losing up to 1,000 subs. Like that
I
is
saw that.
crazy. For them to finally do something. They didn't even acknowledge the fact that it was a problem until that. And then somehow a week later it was addressed, so that's information flowing inwards that we need for them to be able to respond to, as opposed to the other way around, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, guys, if you guys have any questions, we'll start taking those as we wrap up our discussion. So if you guys have anything you want us to address, I do have one more question to throw out to you guys. And it's, I guess, like basically a comment on, we talked about Mixer have these rules, Twitch has these rules. We've seen companies, Hunter was telling me someone, a member of the Overwatch League, a player got kicked off a team for saying, I think it was like racist, like multiple incidents of
repeatedly.
Right. So how do you feel about this trend as a whole, with companies, starting to take action against this kind of stuff instead of letting, freedom of speech run wild?
Great. Good. keep it coming. Like I always say, I love seeing people saying, well, I guess I'm going to go to the Mixer. Like, good luck, because the reins are tight over there. And I guess I'm going to go. There's less places for terrible, terrible scum of the earth to run. And I love that. There are fewer corners for them to hide in. Great.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah. You are running out of dark corners to be a garbage bag of a person.
Yeah, exactly.
Change your attitudes instead of trying to retreat into other places. And I think it's a really great direction. And we're gonna continuously face that pushback from them. But I think it's important that all of us, as you were saying, these various companies, these various esports teams, and broadcasters and communities, as all collectively sort of regenerating a more wholesome approach. And I think that I think to my own stream with this stuff, like I have an 18+ stream all around. The subjects we talk about, the language that I use, it gets funky and it gets crazy, and they're very adult subjects we talk about all the time. It's also a very wholesome stream at the same time. So it doesn't mean make everything G-rated at all. But there are different approaches that you can have. And I think people are making some really good strides toward acknowledging that and allowing that to be in place at the same time as changing the culture to really not just the culture with the attitudes, but also the rules and the enforcement of the rules, like on that team, Dallas Fuel, I think, to very publicly, very openly show people that they as companies, they as teams, and we together are legitimately moving forward with this. Try and stop it is good luck. Right. It's happening.
And I think a big problem with, platforms and places where you can have discussions or make comments is, the fact that you're anonymous, and the fact that you can pretty much say anything without getting any real, punishment. So I agree. I think, like, it's important as just like society to reprimand people that are saying things that are not cool to say. Like, and I think when you have a lot of young kids, easily being influenced by, people they look up to, people that they watch every day, other comments that they see in chat, and they think this is okay, like this is funny. It's kind of a necessary enforcement if we want to not let society just completely collapse, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Which sounds a little dramatic, but
right.
No,
I think you're not far off. That's been an ever-present kind of issue for like 300,000 years at different times. We're facing a new version of that with the way that the direction that the internet is taking, and the freedom that affords with minimal cultural pushback. Because it's just it's a bit of a Wild West.
Yep.
Yeah.
And also, a lot of people don't understand the difference between just playing with your friends. No one's trying to censor how you act in life, but there are rules to using someone else's platform, and you're called an influencer
Certainly
for a
that.
reason. You have influence, and that's responsibility that people should understand that they
Yeah.
have when they
You want power? Pay the price for it.
Exactly.
So we do have, looks like, a couple questions. First one being, will this help against viewers and ugly comments? Can streamers do more than just ban from their own channel?
Will this being the new ToS?
Yes. Or the updated guidelines.
That's actually a question that I asked Twitter as well, is just in general for mods, do you report things or not? If you report them, then something will happen. But like, Twitch can't actively monitor everything that happens. So you have to report it for something to happen. And it's up to your moderation team to report or not. And if you don't and you're just banning them, then I mean, this is not really, like, it sounds harsher, but it's just basically making a problem for another channel.
That's true.
Someone makes the step to take the step to actually report that person. So right now it's doing worse for some people because they're just kind of using it as fuel for a different kind of trolling. But maybe this is the start of some changes over the next year.
I hadn't quite thought of it that way, that banning somebody from your channel is really just forcibly ignoring them, forcibly muting them, as opposed to taking action to, like, they could go everywhere else. You are one out of 3 million channels. It's like they could go, they're going to leave your channel then and go somewhere. And you're pushing that over one. You're pushing that onto somebody else. I had not quite considered that. That's an interesting point.
Yeah, you can report any account on Twitch. So if it's something that's super bad, like Mob Lord mentions, like racists or death threats or homophobic comments, like something really bad, you can report those. So make sure to use the reporting system. And tell your mods, be like, hey, like, if someone breaks Twitch's rules, like, those are against Twitch's guidelines. So if they break that, like, they're subject to being banned off Twitch completely. So, definitely instruct your mods to make sure that those comments, get reported properly.
Good point.
Next question, would you consider that idea of an internal rating system added to Twitch, much like the TV rating system, ESRB, PEGI, or movie rating system? So not just 18 and up, but I guess like different stepping stones for content.
Yeah.
I personally don't really see a point in that. That's something that would change from hour to hour, not just from stream to stream.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, you can when those rating systems are in place, it's for content that you entirely control. You're making the content, whereas you're playing games in this case. Like, half of our content is dictated by someone else making the content. So I don't know if that's
true,
but I don't know. I personally don't see that.
So that would be more like a guideline in that regard, rather than like something stringently set and to which we would adhere.
Yeah, I mean, the base age for Twitch is 13 anyways.
Right.
So
I think without parental guidance, right? Before that, you can be on just, you're supposed to, or you can't, not allowed to own your own account without parental supervision.
You can't stream under 13 too, unless you have a
definitely can't. Yeah. So I would be curious about that kind of taking that approach in order to help parents guide their children when it came to creating the account and opening it up to what they were capable of watching without direct supervision. So with two-factor authentication, parent has it on their phone. It's not duplicated elsewhere. So you're not going to be able to say, go in as the child and change your settings and be like, oh, I want to watch the 18 plus streams. So you set it up. You're like, I want this account only to be able to access these, streams that are rated for PG, whatever, or whatever our ratings would be in this circumstance. And then that's all they would see. They don't even have access to, they can't even see the thumbnail preview for 18 plus streams or 16 plus streams.
The reason that I don't see as much value in it is because it would be user regulated, anyone could just say I'm PG-13.
Well, okay. So what about like being able to filter games by their rating?
Okay. Yeah. I can see that.
Ooh.
That's
'Cause the
something
games-
I think that would have more impact for sure.
Well, but then again, that's varies by region. The United States has its own rating system, right? The EU, I believe, has a separate rating system, and they don't communicate. They're entirely independent. So I don't know how some of that would work. Either that, yeah. There's definitely some more complication and nuance to.
I mean, I
answering
guess
that
it's like
question.
it would probably based on where your account is.
Mhm.
Like, it's like how like the front page is something that like me and my viewers are realizing is region based. So someone in Europe is seeing someone different on the front page than I would. So it could be something like that where it's like, okay, this account's in North America, we're given these ratings. But I think it could be a very helpful idea to filtering content. At least like as a parent, trying to make sure like, oh, my kids should only have access to these rating games, even if whatever the content entails. But
yeah, that's more objective.
Yeah. What do you think of about an option for streamers to ban users by IP address?
No. No. No.
Too much power.
Yeah.
Too much power.
I don't think you should be taking any of the job away from moderation team other than reporting to them.
And the moderation team, I believe, can do that. Like for like ban evasion or something like that.
Yeah. But also thinking about this is something that I've run into before, having straw polls. I used straw poll dot whatever, straw dot poll. I don't know. It's got there's a little checkbox that you can select for prevent multiple fraud prevention kind of thing, where people from the same IP address can't vote. Well, it turns out, unbeknownst to my dumb brain, people live together and usually have multiple accounts for stuff, and they will watch things separately, independently. Sometimes it's in a dorm, sometimes it's in an apartment, sometimes it's in a house, and sometimes it's at an internet cafe or or a public Wi-Fi spot or something. And banning from the IP, suddenly you shut down Starbucks, everybody who may be watching, or whatever it happens to be. It would be an unfortunate byproduct that I think it immediately takes it a step too far because of those incidental outside aspects.
Yeah. I mean, it's also like technically every account on Twitch can be a streamer. So does every account have access to every other account's IP to be able to do IP bans? That just would not work.
That's true.
So, anyways, do you guys have any other closing comments that you'd like to give to who's watching about these guidelines or anything related to what we talked about today?
Hunter, you go first.
I was trying to formulate. I was hoping that I would be the last to go because I was trying to crank the wheels in my head. One point that I keep coming back to is that it's a living document, and I think it's really important given the way that I've seen people think about and talk about changes like this and this kind of subject matter before. Is, as you're pointing out, is like, oh, it's all over, it's all doomed because these things have come into place, or this isn't enough. We need so much more to be done, or this doesn't address this issue or whatnot. But I really want to reiterate that it's explicitly stated. It doesn't mean that it's going to, every month they're going to be adding changes, but it is explicitly stated, and I have reason to believe, I have faith for sure, but also reason to believe that it will be addressed again and again. And I don't know the approaches that I really should. Don't know the approaches that we can take to help Twitch address them in ways that we feel that they, to get ourselves heard. But keep in mind that this is not fixed and infinite and permanent and the 10 Commandments. It's something that's likely to change and be refined and reformulated over the months and the years.
Yeah, that's excellent. I did want to go back to one thing about when you asked what could be made clearer. It occurred to me one thing could be made clearer is they had in that little stream that said, he talked about the changes in the first stream. I think they did that. And he's like, if you're joking, make sure people know you're joking. I don't think that was the wisest thing to say, because it's basically bringing back the Kappa. Like, you know, like I can say something racist, but I didn't mean it. It was just a joke. Or like, I don't mean this. It's just a joke, but racist, 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 racist. You know, that's something I think needs to be clarified and nipped in the bud early. That there's just too many open doors.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
But in terms of closing comments, I think right now Twitch is being accused of just fully embracing that corporate culture and PR positive campaigning, and it's just losing touch with its actual users. And I can't really argue against that. Like, I get that it's a business, absolutely. At the end of the day, that's what Twitch is. They're trying to make money. But it really seems like they've moved so far past its old ways of listening and fostering an actual community building. It's almost becoming unrecognizable. And the messages that they have on paper they're very good. They're inclusive, they're friendly, they seem like they've got the ear to the ground. But a lot of us see through that, and they see that it's very businessy, very money-making like, the reasoning behind all of that. And it's like, you know, will it look good to press? Will this program lock in more small streamers from moving to other platforms? Will this make us look current and caring? So I know they can't speak out. They can't tell us things that they, you know, could potentially put them in a bad spot, but they need to show that they're at least listening. And it doesn't seem like they're listening if they're putting out these guidelines that they're not necessarily enforcing. You know, like it seems very PR and not something that is like what we actually want, what is needed, that they're actually showing us they are in fact listening. This is something that you guys wanted. We're going to do it. It seems like, oh, we really need to do something because other people are doing it, or like people are starting to complain. We're starting to look bad. And I want to have faith that that's going to change. But I think the big thing is they need to prove that they're going to act on these changes, and they need to prove that they're listening to us.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. You know, overall, obviously, I think these changes are a good thing. Like, you know, so if they enforce what they say that they're going to enforce, then that's going to be, I think, a huge overall benefit to Twitch and its culture, its community. And you've nailed it. Like, it comes right down to enforcement. So, you know, we'll probably look back on this in 6 months, see how it's changed. Like, I think Twitch could easily look drastically different a year from now, or it could just be more of the same. And you know, you're gonna have people that are just tired of dealing with that, and you know, there's other platforms out there. So, you know, it's the ball's still in Twitch's court, and you know, it's up to them to, you know, I guess, you know, communicate a little bit better and try to, you know, work with us and not just, you know, thinking for us, you know, when, you know, making changes or adding new things. So we'll see. But yeah, overall, it is definitely a step in the right direction.
I think so.
So that's going to conclude our episode. We're going to do some shout outs. So we'll go through. Clara, why don't you tell us where we can find you on the interwebs?
Twitter. I'm on Twitter more than anything else. So twitter.com/SeriouslyClara. I'm SeriouslyClara everywhere. Instagram, Discord. My site is SeriouslyClara.tv. Twitch is SeriouslyClara. And my contact emails on my Twitter bio. So that's where you can find me.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Hunter?
You can find me here Mondays at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern. And twitch.tv/TheHunterWild. I'm streaming, you know, all the time except for one day. That's a really important day for me. On Twitter at TheHunterWild.tv. It's got the TV at the end. It's important to remember. Again, that other guy, not me.
I'm Loco, and I am also be here Mondays at 5 p.m. Eastern time. So you guys can find me at twitch.tv/Loco, twitter.com/Loco2525. Currently playing a lot of Battle Royale games, and Oxygen Not Included, which is seriously addicting. So thank you guys. That's going to do it for us today. I am really excited to be able to announce next week's show. We're going to be talking Twitch, or actually not Twitch, moderation in general. Moderation 101 with Mob Lord and Lucky Misfit will be joining us, two veteran moderators in all capacities from Twitch adminning to moderating channels. So it should be a really good episode. We're gonna try to explain
Really
to you
exciting.
guys. Yeah, we're gonna try to help you guys with you know, how to find mods, how to build a mod team, but also on the moderation side, how to be a good moderator, how to become a mod, and the ins and outs of what it takes to be a mod for a stream. So hope to see you guys here next week. Same time, same place, twitch.tv/StreamerSquare. Definitely check us out at twitter.com/StreamerSquare and our YouTube, youtube.com/StreamerSquare if you want to see the VODs of the past stream scene episodes. So thank you guys so much for joining us for a very interesting discussion. We'll see where the Twitch guidelines stand, you know, 6 months or a year from now. And thank you guys so much. So have a great week. Thank you, Clara, again for being on the show. You did an amazing job.
You are heroic.
So thank you so much. So yeah, we'll see you guys next week. Have a wonderful week, guys. Take care.
Take care.